Hello everyone, my name's Best Friend Skull, and welcome back to Risk of Rain. You guys voted, it was a pretty close race, but the Bandit came out on top. So without further ado, let's go be a space cowboy. With the Bandit, you've got a new set of 4 attacks. You've got, again, a basic attack, a crowd clearer, a mobility tool, and a power attack. Though, with the Bandit, it's a little bit strange. There's what happens when I hold down the button, and there's what happens when I rapid press it. With the Bandit, he actually does depend upon how quickly you press the Z button with his Z attack. The other thing that's really odd about him is that his V attack, Lights Out. If you kill something with it, all of his cooldowns, aside from his use item cooldown, reset instantly. And with his other 2 abilities, the Smoke Bomb and Dynamite, this results in some rather strange things you're able to do. The Smoke Bomb is the particular one, because it will make you disappear for 3 seconds, everything loses track of you, and any attacks coming towards you will just miss. And as such, if you can play the proper mind games with the AI, you can pretty much just be invulnerable. If we were all robots, this would be the character for us. Unfortunately, it's hard to pull off consistently. It just really can't be done. When crowds start coming in, when things start becoming gigantic amounts of stuff all at the same time, it's impossible to keep track of everything. Right there, even, I thought that I could kill that guy with that, and I didn't. Now, another thing you may notice is that we're on the dried lake instead of the desolate forest. Every stage except for the last 2 have an alternate version, and this would be the alternate version of the desolate forest, stage 1. I also just kind of rushed the teleporter right there. There is a reason for that, and I'll get to that in a second. You may notice that we just got our first unique item. This is the Colossal Knurl. It will only drop from the Colossus. It's a pretty good item. It just boosts everything defensively about you. Your health, your regeneration, your armor, everything. And also, from here on out, when I'm just sort of clearing out enemies at the end or going to collect some more items, I'm just going to speed it up. And there's why I rushed the teleporter. What we just got from that achievement is one of the better items in the game for a use item. Now, we're back on the field of sprites, and right now I kind of want to go over level generation. There was some discussion in the thread about how it doesn't feel as if they're procedurally generated. They are. It's just in a very different way than a lot of other games. Think of how Spelunky does it, if you know that game, and how it's kind of based upon these blocks. That there are these blocks around, and it'll determine this block has nothing, this block has some gold in it, this block has just a big patch of dirt, this block is a bomb. In this game, it's a lot more spread out than that. The blocks are less of blocks and more of constructions. From what I've been able to tell thus far, most areas are kind of separated into 6, maybe 12 bits. And then it will pick a bit that fits there and go with that one. Because, as you can see, this isn't the exact same as it was before. And the other thing is that, of course, it will also pick some random places to put down a shrine, a chest, a teleporter. Now, I want to go right here and talk about the Ancient Wisp. The Ancient Wisp is a new boss that we have to face, and it's probably, of the, what I would call easier bosses, probably the hardest. Not because it does a lot of damage, not because it hurts a lot, or that it has a lot of ability to kill you. It's just the fact that it is incredibly durable, and has a tendency to cause a lot of issues. Another thing I should bring up about the bandit is that his smoke bomb, the one that makes him disappear, is that if you come out of it while near enough to an enemy, you will kind of explode and stun them. This isn't actually... It seems pretty mild because it's not a very large stun, but it's one of the essential methods of using the thing. Now, with the Ancient Wisp, as you can see, he only has one attack and he just kind of goes back and forth. He's also like the Imp Overlord in that he is actually stunnable and knockbackable. But he has one other thing to him that makes him a little bit weird. He only has that one attack where he kind of marks out an area and then that area explodes. And we're gonna fast forward here again. But then, when he dies, I'll just let you see. Also, the use item we got was a snow globe, and it's honestly not one of my preferred use items, but it's what we got, and I'm not going to spend money on a new one. In any case, I think the Ancient Wisp is about to die, and there we go! He instantaneously spawns 2 Great Wisps and 2 regular Wisps. This can actually cause some serious chaos at some point, because Great Wisps are actually a pretty hard thing to deal with early on in the game, when you don't have enough items to make them, well, not a joke, but not threatening. But now we're in the Ancient Valley. Last time around we were in the Sunken Tomb, and this place is a lot harder, honestly. It spawns a new type of enemy that's really difficult to deal with, and it's just genuinely harder. For one thing, golems are now replaced with those frozen golems, or snow golems, and we're going to encounter a new enemy here relatively soon that I have some pretty severe problems dealing with. Also, this area is probably one of the easiest to get lost in or wind up wasting an awful lot of time. Because in the center of it, there's either a giant bridge or a broken bridge. In this case, we got the broken bridge. And if you get the broken bridge, it becomes very hard to navigate this place. Because it's big. It's pretty damn large. These are that new enemy, by the way. These are mechanical spiders, and they're a lot like wisps, except they're a whole heck of a lot faster. And as such, they can cause you some serious grief, and also their projectile doesn't have a sound to mark it out. With the wisp, they kind of do that strange little noise before they attack you. The mechanical spiders don't do that. And as such, they become quite a problem. Fortunately enough, if you can get them alone, they're no problem at all, because they'll just get stun locked by you. Now, right now I'm going to take the opportunity to just quickly go over the new items that we've gotten this run. We got the Colossal Knurl earlier on, which, as I explained, just ups all of your defensive capabilities. We got Gasoline, which was something that we actually got through a achievement earlier on, which makes it so that when a enemy dies, it has a chance of just leaving a fire trail behind it. We got Smart Chopper, which we got in the first episode, but I didn't really explain what it did. It just makes it so that all enemies drop more money. We also got the Barbed Wire, which gives us that little aura around us that makes it so that we deal damage to anything around us in that little radius. We got the Monster Tooth, one of, in my opinion, the best items in the game, which makes it so that every time that you kill something, you get 10 health back. Fairly simple. We got the Rusty Knife, which makes it so that when you hit something, it has a chance to bleed. Right now you might see some red numbers popping out from the enemies I'm fighting. That is because the Rusty Knife activated, and it is now giving them a damage over time effect. we've had the Leech Seed before, and then we've got the Med Kit. The Med Kit makes it so that when you get hit, if you wait for a second, a 0.1, you will recover 10 health. We got Permafrost, which I don't remember if we got in the last playthrough, but it makes it so that when you hit something, it has a chance of just freezing. It's probably one of the better items in the game. In fact, along with that and the Snow Globe, we're quite an icy cowboy. We also got the Mortar Tube, which makes it so that every time that you hit something, you have a chance of just launching out a mortar. And then we got the Lensmaker's Glasses, which we've had before. And then we got the hit list. Now, some of you may notice something, those of you that have played the game before, and no, this is not the first time I've played the Bandit. I have some recordings of an achievement run I did before, and I'll show those off in the next episode probably, but this one came out pretty damn long, so I figure we're probably good just letting that go. In any case, the hit list is probably one of the best items in the game. It is incredibly powerful, because what it does is, you might see in a little bit, I'm not entirely sure, but you'll see a yellow paint mark, that, come up across an enemy. While that thing's there, if you kill the thing, it will give you a green check mark, and these little ticks will appear above your move hotbar. Every time that you do that, your damage just increases. Period. And just goes up, and up, and up, and up, and up. It's irrationally powerful. It's by far one of the best achievement items in the game to get. Now, here's what I mean about this stage being a lot more difficult than the Sunken Tombs. I'm about to come across the teleporter up here, and in case you didn't notice, in order to find this thing, I essentially had to take a U-shaped pattern all the way across the stage. I had to go to the bottom, to the right, and then back up again. This place is... I don't like this stage. It wastes so much of your time. And added on to that, most of the enemies that appear here are really fucking durable. And now, we've got a new boss. Ifrit. Scion of the Infernal King, or Ifrit, I don't know. Remember how I said before that the Ancient Wisp is the hardest of what I'd call the easy bosses? Ifrit is what I would call the second easiest of the hard bosses. He's just... What he does, he only has one attack where he bashes his hand into the ground, it comes out in a flame strike, and that's the only attack he has. It's very damaging, but the main problem is he does that wall thing. Which, for a ranged character, is hell, because it means you can't escape. You are completely trapped in there with him and a whole pile of other enemies. It's absolute hell in there. Now, right here I'm running away. And that's because I don't really feel as if I should be trying to take on Ifrit right now. Because right now a lot of things are spawning around him pretty consistently. I'm going to actually go down here, do a couple of other things, and wait for the timer to go out. Because taking him on in my current state, while I am relatively fit and so forth, taking him on right now with that amount of things spawning around him and him trapping me in there is just going to wind up in nothing but bad things. So instead I'm going to head down here and essentially just snipe off a couple of mechanical spiders and snow golems that spawn in front of me. And right here I'm going to fast forward because I'm just not taking on Ifrit yet. I'm taking on everything else that spawned. And that was quite a cluster right there, but still, dealt with it. Now we're gonna go on and take him on, because things have stopped spawning at this point, anything I kill will remain dead, and I can deal with him a little bit better. Here I am trapped again, and also, we got an item right there called the Brilliant Behemoth. Brilliant Behemoth makes it so that all of your attacks explode. That's what it does. It's wonderful. Now, that area right there, that we just got those two laser drones in, it seems a little mysterious, doesn't it? We'll get to that eventually. Anyways, off we go. Into the magma barracks. This is the alternate form of the 4th stage. You either get the magma barracks or the hive. Pray for the hive. Just pray for the hive. I believe, actually, that the game doesn't give you these stages until you have beaten the kind of original version. This is why you pray for the hive. This place is filled with lava, and is really difficult to platform around, at least for me. I'm good at the damage dealing and combat in this game. Platforming has never been my forte. Also, right there, we had an enemy that we've seen before, but I didn't go over. That is an evolved Lemurian. They have 2 attacks. When they're flying, they do that kind of shiny thing, and that is actually an attack. They gain a hitbox. God damn it. They gain a hitbox when they do that attack, but when they land, they essentially turn into a more powerful version of a Lemurian. It's not that difficult to deal with, because they kind of come in swarms. And since we got the Brilliant Behemoth, it gets a lot easier to deal with them. It gets even easier to deal with them with another drone that we're going to get in a little bit. My personal second favorite drone, I'll say. Evolved Lemurians are kind of like the easier version of an archer bug. Also, there's another enemy down there that I didn't go over before. That was the Bighorn Bison. The Bighorn Bison only appear in this stage and in the Tundra. And they are the other enemy that can teleport. But their teleport is actually an attack. And as such, if it weren't for the fact that they don't actually really deal out that much damage and they don't tend to come in swarms, I would consider them my most hated enemy. In any case, I'm just going to take a dunk in the lava. I don't know. Can't see why not. I wonder what's over here. Oh. Well, that's sad. If we had just gotten here a little bit earlier, we might have been able to save him. Oh. Well, anyways, back into the lava again. And I remember this bit. Take a look at my health. I am so glad I managed to pull this out of my ass. I had 25 health left when I came out of there. And if it weren't for the monster tooth, I would be dead. Because I would not be recovering health nearly as quickly as I am. It, along with the Colossal Knurl and the Bustling Fungus, pretty much just saved my ass. And we're activating the teleporter again, and here's the new boss. The Toxic Beast is either, depending upon your class, the easiest or hardest, or the easiest boss in the game, or the easiest of the hard bosses in the game. He's really not that threatening, because all he does is run around and stomp on you and spawn those little boar things. With certain classes in the game, he is the absolute easiest boss, period. The Bandit's not one of those. If I didn't have the Brilliant Behemoth and the Crowbar and all that kind of damage-dealing stuff, he would actually be a relatively serious problem, because he'd be able to stomp on me continuously. But fortunately enough, we had those, and so we're good. Now, the lava is kind of the reason why it is that this place is such hell to deal with. The other reason is because when I activated that teleporter, I was really, really hoping that something didn't happen. And I'm sure that it will wind up happening in another playthrough. And I'm sure some of you know who I'm talking about, and yeah. I'm just very glad it didn't happen. Now, with Ifrit before, you will not see him very often. He is one of the bosses in this game that only spawns on one stage. He can't spawn anywhere except for the Ancient Valley. Right there, I exchanged my frozen globe for my snow globe for a safeguard lantern because I think the safeguard lantern is a better item. I dropped down there on purpose. It was not because I'm a failure at that. It was to get that thing. For one thing, we've unlocked an achievement for getting 4 drones all at the same time. There is no limit on drones, by the way. And for another thing, we got a flamethrower drone. My probably second, if not favorite, drone in the game. It only operates at close range, but it has the most health of any drone, and it deals the most damage. If you're going to be in close, if you're a melee class particularly, then it's pretty much the best thing. It's the best drone for you, period. Over there we have a golden chest, and we'll get to those eventually. But for now, welcome back to the Temple of the Elders. So, this time around when we're here, for one thing, my frame rate isn't going to bug out, and for another thing, we're going to totally explore the area. And I will go over a little bit more of how the level generation works here. Because this area here always generates differently. Sometimes there will be a rope straight up to the top right there. Sometimes, like this time around, there isn't. And in this case, that's a relatively severe bother, because it does something that I don't like it. I hate when games do this. You can't get this because you didn't get the proper item or you're not playing as the proper class. I hate it when games do that, and it is the one thing that I would say is not my primary complaint about Risk of Rain, but definitely up there. With the Temple of the Elders, as I said before, though I didn't get the chance to show it off very much, it's one of the more stably developed of areas. It always has a large temple off to the left, and it always has this kind of cliff and platform off to the right. Other than that, it's mostly a plateau, and as such, you can have a much easier time navigating this place than almost anywhere else. Right there, I was using the Safeguard Lantern because that was a big, threatening Elder Lemurian, and I didn't want it coming anywhere near me, so I laid down the Safeguard Lantern and locked it in place so that I could take my pot shots. So, we're going to be making our way over to that temple right now, but there's something worth noting right about here. That launch pad will take us up, and then take us up again afterwards. This part doesn't always develop this way. This part is sometimes just a flat area, this part's sometimes a bit wonky. It's honestly up in the air. But this is the main thing. Sometimes this bridge will be all the way across. That means you can't go down there, into this other area that I'm about to go into. That's actually actively disadvantageous. In any case, you might see that teleporter's a little bit different looking. Wonder what that could mean. Well, we've got an Imp Overlord to deal with here, and he's still an Imp Overlord. He is not really a threat at all. So I'm just gonna take care of him and make my way off in a little bit. Now, I want to take some time here to quickly go over elite enemies. I've pointed them out before, but at this point you probably noticed that there's more than one type of elite. There are, in fact, 5. There is Blazing, Frenzied, Volatile, Overloading, and Leeching. They are all marked with a different color. Blazing marked in red, Frenzied in yellow, Volatile in orange, Overloading in blue, and Leeching in green. Blazing elites leave a trail of fire behind them and have just generally increased damage. Frenzied elites, my personal most hated elite, has increased movement speed and attack speed, and can teleport towards you. I just dislike things that teleport. Volatile, or orange, elites have explosive attacks, and they can launch missiles at you. Again. Overloading elites are less troublesome of them. Probably the least, actually. They have an electric aura around them that's similar to another item. And we haven't unlocked that item yet. Then we have leeching, the green ones. They have an greatly increased health, and will heal nearby enemies. So, needless to say, these things are your main problem. But without further ado, welcome back to the UES Contact Light. This is the first time I'm going to take some liberties with the game's audio. I've been edging away from talking about the soundtrack until we got to this song in particular. I'm going to be muting the actual game audio and just play the track that is playing over top of this stage. I've heard this soundtrack often compared to Journey's soundtrack and Bastion's. And at the time that I first heard that, I didn't quite think it was legitimate. I didn't quite think it was accurate. Then I heard this one. This is the final stage of the game, and this track is called Coalescence. I'll include a link to its YouTube page in the video description and in the thread. Honestly, I don't know entirely how to sum up what I think about this one, but I'm going to just go with what I said in the YouTube comments for the actual video itself. God, this fucking song. This song does something that almost no song I've ever heard is able to do. Be both melancholy and epic as fuck at the same time. The song has such an awesome build to it all, leading up to that blast of a synth solo at the end. Every time I get to the last stage, I always pause for a little bit just to hear that music box-like xylophone that sends shivers up my spine. It's truly beautiful in every way. Chris, I salute you. You are a credit to us all. Chris Christodoulou is the composer for the game. And he actually responded to that comment by saying that it made his day. And I think that kind of sums up why it is that I have an affection in my heart for indie gaming and all that kind of stuff. It's not about... When they say thank you, they're not saying thank you all, or thanks to all our fans. They are actually saying thank you to you as an individual, because they care. They actually give a shit. At least in most cases. And, honestly, I don't know what else to say. I think at this point, I'm just gonna go silent until the song is over. If that's alright, and, we'll get to the stage proper when it's done. So now that I've done that, I'll talk a little bit, or a lot actually, about this stage. This stage is the biggest stage in the game by far. It is expansive as hell, and honestly, it is probably the best stage in the game as well. It has 2 different segments to it, 3 technically, but one's just one room. This would be the first, the cargo area. It's where you spawn in, and in order to get into these cargo containers, you have to activate these little panels, and then it gives you a 30-second timer that's essentially just like those teleporter timers from before. I went through and I activated both of them simultaneously, because essentially you're better off doing that as far as I'm concerned. It helps you focus a little bit more, it helps you get through the whole thing a little bit faster, and it just makes it a little easier on you. You may also notice that we're currently on I'm Coming For You difficulty. We were on I See You before, and we're going to go up to another difficulty level that I personally find exceptionally amusing. But first, this container looks a little odd. Alright, what? Oh! We found the robot janitor. I'll stop playing the fool now. We just unlocked a new character. A character by the name of Handy. He is, as it said, a robot janitor. We also just got an achievement for surviving through 40 minutes. These are both relatively easy achievements to get if you know where they are. So I'm just going to fast forward this next bit. It's just me grinding towards getting that golden chest up there. Golden chests are neat. They're extremely expensive, but they have a 100% chance of granting you a rare item. So, as such, if you can get one, because the item that you get will be almost always useful. In this case, we got an old box. Fear is a status ailment that essentially causes the enemy to run in the opposite direction. So, since now when we get hit, we have a chance of dropping an old box, which will fear our enemies, anytime we get hit, things in the radius will start to just run away. Now, you may have noticed that we got a new item a little while ago that's a little bit strange, because it keeps on coming up. The key card. For one, it's purple. Purple is a notification... Okay, that was close. Purple is a notification that the item is... I don't know what to call it necessarily, but stage-specific and odd. I'm just going to call them odd items. In the case of the keycard, there's only 2 purple items in the game, by the way. The keycard and something else we will see later. Not this video, but in the future. It only appears in this stage, and is used for a specific purpose. Currently speaking, we're on the first area of the UES contact light, and in the second area, the keycard's purpose becomes rather evident. But for now, we're going to make our way straight on up, and after we kill this guy, of course. There we go. And see what's up at the top. Something worth noting about this left section is that the bottom of it always is a room that is just filled with containers. And so, going to that one relatively quickly is probably your best bet, particularly if you're close to a level. That there is a new enemy. I don't know what to call it, but essentially it's a mini Ancient Wisp. It's an upgraded version of the Great Wisp, and it's really durable and it does a lot of damage, and yeah, that's honestly about all I can say about it. It's the same as what we've been dealing with, but worse. Up at the top there, we've run into a couple of these now, but those are roulette chests, is what I'll call them. They kind of show you an item, and then they show you another one, and then another, but it slowly gets faster, and whenever you hit the button the second time, then you will get the item that is currently being displayed. We also just got an achievement for collecting all 4 keycards, because you need 4 of them to unlock all of the areas in the middle area. Also, I'm going to exchange my use item, because fuck yeah, Sawmerang. Friggin' Boomerang Buzzsaw. Why would you not take that? I mean, sure, I had a minefield, but fucking Boomerang Buzzsaw, of course. Also, right there is a golden container. We opened that and got a keycard. That is what that is what containers always give you. They always give you a keycard, 100% of the time. Now, right here, I'm just gonna be trying to make my way out of here and try and kill a couple of things on my way out, because I'm gonna need a decent load of money for what's coming up. But I think I'm good for now, and I'm just gonna walk away. You may have also noticed, there's a new enemy right there as well. There are only 2 new enemies that appear in BBS Contact Light. Those wisp things, and these guys, a young vagrant. They are essentially a miniature wandering vagrant. They have less health, they only shoot 3 orbs instead of 6, but other than that, they are the exact same. Now, we're gonna make our way out of the cargo area and into the main area of the ship. Up there, and that's what I'm going to collect first, actually, is a new type of drone. Usually you'll find these on earlier stages, but it's an assaultant. It's an upgraded form of the regular drone. It has more health, it does more damage, it shoots faster, it's just generally better. Now, up there is one of the areas that we'll be exploring in a bit, but for now, we'll just kind of clear out this area a little bit. So I'm just going to speed through that little bit of a thing. Now, here we have the roulette. I'm going to try and time this. I usually try and time this so when I see red, I press the button, but right there I just sort of got antsy. A boss just spawned. Completely at random. This starts to happen once you get into the difficulty of ha 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 ha. Essentially, it just means that there's bosses now. They're pretty much regular enemies. Just harder. So, here's an Imp Overlord. They will still always drop an item, though. So, I would consider it worth killing one every time you come across one. Because right here, look at that! Repulsion armor. Just like that. Ah, lucky day. Now, we used our keycard right there to get into the medical bay. The medical bay is filled with containers that just have a whole bunch of health in them, and this thing. We'll see what that does later on, but for now I'll just teleport it off. Now, I'm gonna be starting to speed things up a little bit at this point, because honestly, these enemies take a long time to die, and there's a good amount of gold I'm gonna need to get all the stuff that I want to get before moving on. Namely, one of them being that gold chest. So I'm just going to stand under here, grind away, and try and get enough money to get that thing. But that was taking far too long, and there was nothing there anymore. So I'm going to try out and see what's in the cabin. Again, just trying to clear out some enemies to make my way a little bit safer in. This is kind of an abusable thing that you can use as a ranged character in this area, is that you can stand underneath these doorways and taller enemies can't hit you. Over there is the Scavenger. The Scavenger is probably I would say the most threatening boss in the game. Aside from one, that being the last boss. He shoots missiles if you're too far away from him. If you're directly in front of him, he will fire out that thing, and sometimes he'll fire out that thing. Both of them are incredibly damaging, and they really hurt. Fortunately enough, he is like the Ancient Wisp and the Imp Overlord in that he can actually be stunned. We just got the storage chest, and we'll be seeing what that does later. Now, since it's been a while, let's do a quick item review of all the stuff that we've gotten. First off, we killed the Scavenger, and therefore we get an achievement. I'm a goof. First off, we have the Infusion. We got that before, we know what it does. Second off, we have an energy cell. We got that before, we know what it does. The bustling fungus, if you stand still, it will heal you. The ATGX missile launcher, when you hit something, it has a chance of launching out a missile. Give me one moment. And there. That is the reason that I always try to keep the Explorer's Key around on me until the last levels. If I run into a golden chest, it is incredibly helpful. Normally, I would not exchange an Explorer's Key, a Somrang for an Explorer's Key at this point in the game, because I'm about to go into the final boss fight, and having an Explorer's Key in a boss fight is kinda useless. But, in this case, I'll take it because I wanted that achievement. We also have the Will-o'-the-Wisp, and the Fire Shield. The Fire Shield makes it so that you deal out a good load of damage every time that you take a good load of damage. We have the Shackles, which make it so that our hits have a chance of slowing things. We have the Harvester's Scythe, which makes it so that when we get a crit, it will heal us by 8. We have Paul's Goathoof. Strange name, I know. It increases our general speed. Not our attack speed, just speed. Meat Nugget, which makes it so that when we hit something, it drops out these little chunks of meat that heal us for 6. The keycard, which we went over before. Timekeeper's Secret makes it so that time freezes when we get to low health. This is just me, being a failure at platforming, pretty much. The Old Box, which we went over before. The Ukulele, which makes it so that when we hit something, it will always shock the enemies around it, like a chain lightning. We have the Bitter Root, which increases our maximum health by 8%. We have the Repulsion Armor, which we had before. We have the Guardian Heart, which we went over before. The Ceremonial Dagger, which makes it so that every time that we kill something, it releases out little energy bolts. And we have the Snake Eyes, which makes it so that when we fail a shrine, our critical chance goes up, but if we succeed at a shrine, then it goes back down. Now, right there, I used the Explorer's Key to open up all the chests in this area. This is because the chests here are expensive. They are always expensive, and they have a chance of giving you nothing. So, I would say it was a worthwhile investment because I wound up with a missile launcher, but that was pretty much all that I got out of that, honestly. Fortunately enough, that thing will come in mildly handy. And the Scavenger spawned again, but we're not going to go and kill him this time because we've already been around for 51 minutes at this point, so I think it's about time we finished up a little bit. So, over to the right now, like I'm trying to kill off this guy because I don't actually know why I'm trying to kill him off at this point. I think I'm just sort of shooting everything that's around me. But over here, we have another panel, to the bridge. This is a different kind of panel than the other ones. This one spawns out a lot of enemies. For one thing, it will always spawn out a boss for you to fight. In this case, we got the Imp Overlord, thank God. Sometimes it'll be the Ancient Wisp, sometimes it'll be Colossus, a Scavenger, a Wandering Vagrant. Honestly, it can be almost anything. And then it also spawns just a crap ton of things that are very, very durable and very, very hard to kill. This kind of makes sense because it's our final rush before the end of the game. Something worth noting is that up there, while I was explaining a few other things, we went into the warehouse and into the armory. The armory has something called the Gauss Cannon in it, while the warehouse is just filled with little chests. Sometimes big chests, sometimes roulette chests, sometimes all kinds of stuff. But the purposes behind getting those items, the Gauss Cannon, the medical bay, the nano chest, is because they help us out here. Welcome to the final area of the game. I'm just gonna kill off this guy because while hitting this button does make him despawn, I don't really want that happening on screen. And welcome to Providence. Providence is the final boss fight of the game. He is extremely hard to kill. He has 3 different attacks. He will do that, where he sends out a shockwave in each direction. He will teleport above you and slash, or he will just slash you in general. He also will occasionally buff himself so that he takes 1 damage from everything. Essentially, I'm being a little bit dumb right now because I'm actually bothering to be in front of him in the first place. I should be far, far away from him and running always. Now, right now, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to use the medical bay because my drones are running really low on HP. This thing will fully heal your drones, you, and any allies you have should you be in co-op mode. Now, having the hit list around for as long as we have had it around, we have a total of 11 extra damage added on to our regular damage stat, which is a lot. And also we have things like the ukulele, the harvester's scythe, the lens maker's goggles, the friggin' behemoth. All of these things are massive helps during this. I forgot about one of his attacks. He also does this, because, honestly, I forgot about that because it's so incredibly easy to dodge, it barely even registers as an attack in my mind. Now, we also got the Gauss Cannon, and I don't use the Gauss Cannon for a little bit. I believe I use it pretty soon. Who'd have thought? A 2-segment what the fuck is that? So, welcome to the second form, the Hands of Providence, the Gilded Worms. These are 2 gigantic worms that are very, very slow. They act a lot like the Magma Worm as far as their hitboxes go. The issue is that both of them are shooting at you simultaneously. That guy is shooting out some form of, like, shotgun electricity blast, and that guy is shooting out a laser. There, I just used a Gauss Cannon. As a quick note, don't use the Gauss Cannon on these guys, ever. I was actually just doing that to show that off. You use that on Providence himself. So, we're about to take out one of the Gilded Worms, I believe, but honestly, these guys can be a severe problem if you don't see everything that they're doing, because that laser does a lot of damage, and if that guy is close to you and he uses that shotgun blast, it acts like a shotgun blast in almost every other game, and will kill you almost instantly. And now we have the third form. This is Providence 2, in a way. He does the exact same things that he did before, but he's a lot more durable, he uses that buff a lot more, he comes in with 2 shielded artilleries, which are upgraded forms of the Temple Guard, and this is the other thing. He spawns out a shadow called the Umbra of Providence. Hitting that thing does no damage to Providence himself, but it will eventually kill the thing. Now, something worth noting here is that with certain things, you'll occasionally want to kill off these Temple Guards, but most of the time, you can just leave them alone and just continue on with the fight. They are not nearly as big of a threat as Providence and Umbra of Providence himself. Now, right here is when I am just praying over and over and over again that that medical bay will reactivate, and fortunately enough, it just did. Also, we got an achievement because those guards give us a whole crap ton of gold for some reason. And I think I actually failed to notice that that medical bay was open, and thus... so close. Yet so far. Still, we made it to the end. We almost escaped the planet. But we were bested by the Bulwark of the Weak. So, next time, we have Handy as an option now, but no matter who of these 4 classes you guys decide to pick, we're beating that guy. I'm not letting that one stand. We're going to the end, guys. I'll see you then.